Okay, welcome back to English and Beyond, an advanced level podcast for learners of English as a foreign language. At the best of times, this episode or this podcast is not one that is highly well planned nowadays. Instead, I basically talk about whatever I want with César, my regular guest. And today it's even less well structured than usual because we're doing this completely on a whim. We're flying by the seats of our pants. And we're just going to talk about whatever we think about because we are here and inspired by the beautiful Tuscan countryside. So, César, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm relaxed after 4 days here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going back home today, and I'm glad we came. It was really relaxing. It was my second time in Tuscany, but the first time that I really enjoyed the
experience,
scenery, all the views, food.
What happened the other times?
To the beach. No, the first time I had only been once here. It was for our friend's wedding.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it was in Tuscany. We landed in Tuscany, but then we did that thing where you immediately jump into a hire car and drive miles away.
No, it was Tuscany because it's actually not far from here. I still have it on my favorites on Google Maps.
No, it's like an hour though, because I think that's part of the problem with Tuscany, that it is it cannot be that far how the crow flies. But it is incredibly far because the roads are so windy.
Mm-hmm. Windy, you say?
Winding roads, you can say.
Can you say curvy? Or that's only for people?
Yeah, generally for people.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah,
I think I'm sure I've used the adjective curvy to talk about roads.
I'm sure the native speakers will too. Because the great thing about English is that you can put a Y on the end of anything.
Okay.
Yeah, and and it becomes an adjective. Mm-hmm. You can say things that are ridiculous and people will understand. Like, it's very tree around here. There's lots of trees. It's very tree.
Or treeish.
Woody, you can say. Well, let's talk a little bit about the reality of being in Tuscany because we've already referenced the roads that are very winding, which, like the Beatles song, Long and Winding Roads.
Mm-hmm.
Long and Winding Road. It's actually like Paul McCartney and John Lennon, I think. But there's an example of that adjective in action. I am constantly scratching. Firstly, I haven't got suntan lotion on, which for most people wouldn't be a problem, but it is a problem for me. And so I probably will have to end this episode early to go and put on some suntan lotion. But I'm also itching myself because of what?
Because of the mosquitoes.
The number of mosquitoes.
Insects.
Mm.
We're not completely sure.
Well, definitely mosquitoes. Yeah. Definitely mosquitoes. Because when we first arrived here, I got bitten pretty much immediately, and they swelled up enormously. I felt like the Hunchback of Notre Dame because I had one on the centre of my back that was just absolutely massive, like a ball.
Your immune system was overreacting a bit.
It was. But you're lucky because yours doesn't react at all.
Yeah, because I'm not very appealing for mosquitoes in Tuscany, apparently.
Well, or maybe it's the immune thing, because apparently the reason that it swells up, I don't know that this is true. As always, we say a lot of things that we don't know.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. The language, fine. The content, who knows? But it's because your immune system reacts to the bite, and that's what makes it swell. Mm-hmm. So it might be that your immune system just ignores it.
Okay.
And it's certainly better that in the 4 days, the bites that I'm getting now are really minor in comparison to the ones I got at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're in the middle of the forest or countryside. How would you call this in English?
This particular bit? Or?
With all these trees and...
Well, so I would say in general it's the countryside. If you have like a limited number of trees but all collected here like this, you could say it's a grove. A grove.
Okay.
Of trees. I think that would be a decent way to describe it.
By the way, these trees are very specific because you can probably see on the video that most of the trunk, most of the trunk has been removed, has been peeled off.
Interestingly, it's only a log once you've cut it.
Ah, okay. So the trunk,
yeah.
Part of the trunk has been peeled off.
Yeah, up to a certain level. So it's black until a certain level, and then it's kind of green-white because that is, what's the stuff up there still? Cork, exactly. Yeah. So you can see all of the trees have been stripped to a certain level where they're using the material, the bark, to make cork.
Mm-hmm. To make wine bottles.
Exactly, because wine is a huge thing here.
Yeah.
We're not actually drinking this weekend,
No.
sadly, but you don't feel very well, and I'm just wanting to take a characteristic break from drinking. But everyone else that we're here with is drinking a lot,
And they like wine, and they probably appreciate more than us. Not different type of wines.
Oh God, yeah, for sure. I mean, we have literally, I think you get like masteries. I don't know what the actual word would be, but like certificates of expertise in wine. You're a wine master, and one of the guys here is a wine master, which is nice because when you go to a restaurant and people always want to delegate the selection of the wine.
Yeah.
And I have no idea about it. But it's very easy because you choose the wine to this guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how to open a bottle of wine.
That is true, actually. I am always the one that has to open it if we do drink. That is quite bad.
We're not good with wines, but we are good now with olive oil.
Olive oil.
Extra virgin olive oil.
Because, I'd never heard of this. I'd heard of wine tasting, of course. But we actually went to go and see an olive oil tasting where it's quite funny because in wine... I mean, I don't know any British person who, in a wine tasting, does what you're supposed to do, where you take a sip of the wine, you kind of taste it, and then you spit it out into like the bucket, the spit bucket. Everyone I know just drinks it. But so they actually had a spit bucket with the olive oil tasting, but again, I think everyone just drank it.
Yeah.
But you have to do this thing. What do you want to imitate? What you do when you're actually tasting the olive oil?
Yeah. So you are given like a tiny amount of olive oil in a little cup. You put it in your mouth, and you don't have to swallow it. You have to do this weird sound like just to get it back in your throat. Sometimes it's very not spicy, but sometimes it was spicy. The bugs. But yeah, it makes you cough. For example.
Yeah, it could do for some of them. A small note on the grammar there, actually, because you said you don't have to...
swallow it.
Wow, that is a big one. César,
okay.
I'm going to have to bleep that.
It was very scary.
It wasn't scary.
Threatening.
It was a beetle.
Was it a beetle?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was a hornet or something. And I don't want to...
You can really tell how much from the city you are.
Yeah.
How could you think that was a hornet?
I don't know, it was big and the sound it was making.
It was shiny and green.
Okay.
Anyway.
I thought beetles were black.
Well, they can be all sorts of colours, can't they?
Okay.
I mean, now we'll have someone watching who is I've forgotten the word for...
Biologist?
No, there's a specific word for insects, but I've forgotten what it is. I'll put it in the subtitles. But I was going to comment on your grammar because you said you take a little bit into your mouth and you don't have to swallow it.
You don't need to?
No, those are both the same things, which is that it's not necessary for you to swallow it. Whereas what you want to say is you mustn't swallow it, or you need to not swallow it.
Okay.
You need to keep it in your mouth. You need to not swallow it, and kind of like swill it around the mouth a bit, and then you do this weird sound. Like,
you like aspirate, like hoover it.
Yeah, exactly. You hoover it into the back of your mouth. A little bit like Hannibal Lecter when he does that weird kind of like noise, and that way you draw out the notes, we call it, for these tastes in wine tasting or olive oil tasting.
Anyway, we found out that we need to spend at least 10 euros per bottle.
We also found out that it's a waste of time buying Spanish olive oil, according to the Italians.
Yeah, according to Italians, Spanish olive oil is basically cat piss.
Yeah, cat pee.
Cat pee.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Now every time we're in a restaurant here, we're like, what is this olive oil?
Oh,
is it real?
Well, this I actually said to her during the olive oil tasting that I'm not sure I want to know very much about it, because it seems to me that with wine and with apparently olive oil now, if you become too knowledgeable, you learn too much about it, then you cease to be able to appreciate the normal varieties.
With food in general, even if you're not a foodie, when you are 18, you don't really care how the quality of the pizza or burger is. But now you've been to enough places to distinguish like good quality, bad quality, and that's a shame because your standards get higher and higher.
And I think part of that is actually traveling to the countries when you're old enough and lucky enough to do it. You travel to the countries where you where these things are from. So you can have like pizza in Naples, for example, and we actually have seen that as well because, well, there's a couple of funny things that we've noticed. Firstly, that obviously all countries change their food in versions of the restaurants abroad. So Chinese food is not the same in the UK as it is in China. They adapt it for British tastes. And they've done that here, right? Where they almost never have given us like a little plate for the olive oil that you then dip the bread in.
Only a couple of times.
Yeah, which we basically have missed because it's apparently a very Spanish or British version of Italian food.
I mean, an Italian person told me in the past that that's something that no one does in Italy. That only Italian restaurants outside of Italy do, but I don't know.
But it's a shame, I think, to not have it. Because it's actually quite nice.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, obviously, yes, it's adapted for our tastes, but it's actually quite nice to have. So I'm missing that. And the other thing that I'm really missing as well, and, you know, if there are any Tuscans watching, please don't criticize me, but I'm really missing
They will.
The what?
They will.
Oh, they will, yeah. No, well, exactly, because, like, warning, I'm about to criticize Italian food or Tuscan food, but I really miss salt in bread.
Yeah.
Because there's no salt in the bread here.
But there is a reason for that.
Yeah, the idea is that, well, why don't you explain it?
Oh, I actually don't know. I don't know very well the story.
It's just
like I heard something, but
apparently the food is very salty. They put a lot of salt in the rest of the food, and the rest of the food has so much flavour. They say that the bread is supposed to kind of be quite plain to complement the saltiness of the food and the flavour some food. Well, but to be honest, I just miss the salt in the bread. I with my Philistine palate.
Your what palate?
Philistine, kind of like lacking cultural awareness or anything like that. I'm missing, you know, I don't understand the point of having tasteless bread to go with tasty food when you could have tasty bread to go with tasty food. But I'm sure that is my failing and not Tuscan cooking, even though I really, really, really want the salt back. So, yeah, I miss Spanish bread. Exactly. And changing the subject completely, but staying within the theme of holidays. I think we might have done an episode on holidays before, but I can't remember. One of the risks of going on holiday is realizing that actually being in close proximity to some of your friends for days on end is actually not something you want to see. You know, they say that it's very bad to go on holiday with friends sometimes, very bad to live with friends, because you might end up with no friends. And what do you think about that? Both in general and then in this holiday?
Well, I don't think it's applicable to this holiday. In general, I've heard of groups of friends going on holiday together and, you know, ending up arguing.
Having a fight. Yeah. Has it happened to you?
No, I don't think that has ever happened to me. But I think the biggest holiday I've done with a big group of people was when I was 20 at university. We were like, it was 10 of us.
And how many of those people do you still talk to, César?
One. Half.
And
no,
this is when you open Instagram and you see that those 9 people have gone on holiday together.
Yeah, exactly. No. It was a very pleasant holiday in Budapest.
Okay. Yeah.
But I guess it's difficult. I think you need, if you decide to go on holiday with a group of people, with a group of friends, you need to be flexible, right? And you need to compromise a lot. You need to accommodate their likings, and you know, because some people like the beach, some people like the mountains, some people like going for restaurants, some people like going out, and you don't need to do everything together as well. So,
well, no, I mean, but I suppose different people feel different ways about that, don't they? Because sometimes people do want to do everything together and they feel like you're being antisocial if you say, do you know what, guys, I'm going to stay inside today and just relax. You know, they feel like, what's the point of going on holiday if you're not going to hang out together the whole time? And you do get different. I'm not naturally, I would say, that outgoing a person. I can fake it, but I feel quite exhausted at the end of a day of being really sociable.
I'm even less sociable, probably. And my social battery runs out very, very quickly.
Oh, I think you're better at being like consistent, whereas I think I spark and then disappear. Like we will go out for dinner where, you know, I will start off doing a lot of the socializing for us, and then I basically just like slump in my seat,
hiding behind the table.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think that I explode and then retire, and you are more consistent across the whole evening.
Maybe.
But I think also you say that it's an advantage to be flexible, and I think that is true. But no one's ever criticized me, to my face at least, for kind of insisting that we do something. But people have criticized me to my face for being too relaxed on holiday, in the sense of going with the flow too much, and allowing other people to take the decisions. And people actually don't like taking decisions a lot of the time, do they? They want someone else to make the decision for them.
Yeah, but I also feel that those people who don't like making the decisions, sometimes if you try to make decisions, they feel, slightly threatened because you're making too many decisions. Like, in the sense that I understand that decision fatigue exists, and it's important to help and coordinate and make the plan together, but sometimes you just don't really care, so you prefer that someone do it for you, but then you cannot complain either. No, if you're not contributing to the planning of the holidays. So I don't know.
Yeah, so we're in Italy this weekend. In July we're going to France, and we're also going to go staying in Spain to go and see my sister, who lives in Saudi Arabia. She is coming to Catalonia, so we'll see her. So everything that we're doing this summer is very European. I don't think we've never left Europe together, have we?
No. In it years.
Yeah, I think the last time I left Europe, was in 2017 when I went
Cuba.
to South Korea. Oh,
Cuba in 2017.
Yeah, sorry, 2017. I went to Cuba. And that's the last time that I've left.
In my case, was 2011.
Wow.
When I got the grant to study English for 3 weeks in New York.
We're being accidentally quite environmentally friendly, aren't we?
Yeah.
Where everyone is like, don't have long haul flights.
Learn from the example, Taylor.
Yeah. Your obsession with Taylor Swift and her private jet. Yeah, so where would you like to go if we could go anywhere outside of Europe? And
Japan.
The big thing, I think, is money. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Now that we got a Japanese friend.
Yeah, well, someone on the holiday is from Japan, and she's invited us to...
She lives in Tokyo.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to go to Japan, but it's so expensive to get there.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look into...
It's the kind of holidays you need to plan in advance, right?
Exactly.
Otherwise, it can get very, very expensive.
Exactly. So Japan might be maybe the next time we do one of these special episodes abroad.
From Japan.
From Japan, yeah.
From that famous zebra crossing.
Oh, the one that where there's like multiple and it's full of people. Yeah. We know nothing about...
Sorry.
I'm going to have to bleep that again.
Yeah. Well, I said it in Spanish.
Still. This is an international podcast.
It was a very threatening mosquito. Like, it was green.
I'm not sure it was mosquito.
Okay. I'm sorry, biologist.
Yeah, I think that you're not the best at this. Okay, so César, thank you very much for chatting to me in the roasting Tuscan sun. I'm definitely going to be... I've been so good, but I'm definitely now going to be burnt after this.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, listener, for listening.
Thank you.
Please send me an email. If you have any questions or comments or anything, you can reach me at oliver@morethanlanguage.com. I look forward to hearing from you. As always, you can find the transcript online at www.morethanlanguage.com. That transcript is free. And you can also find at the same web address free flashcards, which will help you to practice and learn the most difficult vocabulary and phrases that we are going to be using in this episode. So, no, don't be silly, Claudia. I'll just cut you out. So you can use those flashcards, this free resource, to practice the most difficult vocabulary and phrases in today's episode. And until next time, when we'll be back in Valencia and doing something more normal. Thank you very much.
Bye.